Hi and welcome back to another Tech Minds video. So in this video we're going to be taking a brief look at the Jianpai 8600 UV handheld radio. Now this radio is dual band, covering 136 to 174 MHz and then 400 to 520 MHz. It also has an inbuilt FM broadcast receiver for receiving the broadcast radio. Now the specs of this radio suggest it has an RF power output of 20 watts. However, we all know that won't be true. Although in this video I will measure the power output on each band and show you the results, which I've already done, and it's actually a little surprising. Now this radio has an IP rating of 68, which refers to dust tight and survives water ingress at a depth of 1.5 meters up to 30 minutes. Now I guess this IP rating gives it an edge over less well-built handheld radios and makes it more suitable for outside use in a range of weather conditions. So the 8600 UV comes in the box with all of the normal accessories you would expect, such as a desktop charger, belt clip, manual, although the manual is actually almost 100% Chinese, so learning how to use this radio in the good old-fashioned way is by twiddling the knobs. Now the feel of the Jianpai 8600 UV feels very sturdy and professional, just like the previous Jianpai radios I've reviewed in the past. Now the backlit keyboard is easy to read and has a real nice solid key depression. There are no menu shortcuts on the keypad, however the menu system is very easy to navigate and I'll show you that shortly. Now on the left side of the radio we have three buttons. The top larger black button is the PTT for VFO-A, the middle orange button is the PTT for VFO-B, and the lower orange button is used to enter FM broadcast mode, or if it's a long press, then it opens the squelch of the currently selected VFO. On the right hand side of the radio we find the speaker mic cover, which is held into place via a screw. Now this cover does have a rubber seal which helps the radio keep its IP68 rating when it's attached. Obviously you'll lose that if you're going to have a speaker mic attached to it. Now for programming the radio, I use one of these multi-supported radio programming cables. Now these are quite handy to have knocking around the shack as they support lots of different radios and manufacturers. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in getting yourself one. Now on the top of the radio we have the antenna connection on and off, which also controls the volume, and then we have a continuous encoder which can be used to change the frequency in VFO mode or the channel in memory mode. The front of the radio, along with the backlit keypad, we find the microphone and speaker. Although you cannot see them, they do work really well and they are very unmuffled. In fact, the received audio is very punchy and the transmitted audio is just as good. I'll let you have a listen to that now.
Lots of sunshine, light wind in the afternoon, very enjoyable. And there was actually some space yesterday at the outstation. All right, let's go to Dave, KD7PWB in Prineville.
Good morning, Chris and the net. So, hey, this is KD7, Papa Whiskey Bravo Dave. And the High Desert Report this morning, we got 1021 on the bar, 54 out currently, going up to a high of around 70 today, and by Wednesday we should be...
So that's what it sounds like in receive mode, and in my opinion it sounds really good. For your information, I'm just connected to my local All-Star node and it's connected to some reflector somewhere. I believe they're all talking on analog, so we should get a fairly clear signal. So let's take a listen to the transmitted audio, and for this test I used SDR Uno and an SDR Play SDR receiver for receiving me transmitting on this radio a couple of rooms away.
This is M0DQW, M0DQW, Mike 0 Delta Quebec Whiskey, testing audio on the wide setting. This is M0 Delta Quebec Whiskey, testing audio on the wide setting. This is M0DQW, Mike 0 Delta Quebec Whiskey, testing audio on the narrow setting, testing audio on the narrow setting, M0DQW.
Programming the radio from software on your Windows computer is also very easy. As well as maintaining the memories, you also have control over how many of the features operate, such as choosing whether VFO-A or B is in memory or VFO mode, along with turning off the annoying beeps we find on most radios, or turning them on if you're that way inclined. If you do not have access to a computer or programming cable, then programming the radio through the front panel is also just as easy. The menu system comprises of various options to change how the radio works, along with a pretty unique memory management. So there is no GPS, Bluetooth or flashlight on this radio. However, its design and robustness, in my opinion, is worth every penny. So let's talk about power output. So on the spec sheet, it says 20 watts, but we all know that's very unlikely. So here we have the radio connected to my power meter, which in turn has a dummy load connected to the output. If we dial a frequency of 145 MHz and then press the PTT, we see an output of just over 8 watts. If we then dial a frequency of 430 MHz and then press the PTT, we see an output of a smidge under 8 watts. In the middle of the 70 centimeter band at 435 MHz, we see an RF output of just under 8 watts. And then if we dial to 439 MHz at the top end of 70 centimeters and then press the PTT, we see an output of just under 8 watts also. Now the 8600 UV also allows operation on 446 MHz, which in the UK is in the PMR band. Now on PMR channel 1, we see an output of around 6.5 watts. Of course, this type of radio is not actually type approved on these frequencies here in the UK. Now one thing you might not have noticed is the battery level during these tests. The battery indicator on the radio's LCD was showing 2/3 full. So I'm wondering if the power output would have been more if I'd charged the battery first. In fact, I hadn't charged the battery since when it arrived from China. Well, there we go guys, a brief overview of the Jianpai 8600 UV dual band radio. Now I personally quite like it, and at that price, what's not to like? I'll leave links down in the description if you'd like to check it out in more detail. Just before I go, I'd like to say a massive thank you to my patrons and YouTube members for your continued support month after month. Without your support, I wouldn't be able to continue reviewing and showing you these obscure radios. Until the next video, take care, stay safe, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.